You thought I spoke Italian for love.
And you used my words to bury me in truth.
He laughed at her skin before he tasted her coffee. You people only serve, he said. She looked up, eyes calm, voice like fire. Then why are you the one trembling? That night, the Mafia boss vanished, and the last security footage showed her whispering something in Italian before the screen went black. He met her again the next night. Same table, same smirk, same arrogance. The restaurant lights flickered gold over his rings as he stirred his drink, pretending control he didn't have. She walked by, silent, her step steady as if she owned the air itself. He called her sweetheart again, but this time, his voice trembled like glass trying to remember it was strong. Amara didn't look at him until he said, "You should be grateful. Most men like me wouldn't even talk to you." His words hung heavy, poisonous. She turned, slow and deliberate, eyes catching his reflection in the mirror behind him. "You're right," she said. "Most men like you don't talk. They just command and destroy." The silence that followed wasn't peace. It was a warning. He didn't know why he couldn't look away. Maybe it was her calm. Maybe it was the fire beneath it. He'd built empires from fear, but she carried something he couldn't buy, dignity. When she finally smiled, it wasn't kindness. It was prophecy. "Careful, Vince," she whispered. "Even wolves choke when they taste truth." He laughed, but his laugh sounded like regret in disguise. By the third night, he ordered the same seat. The lounge was quieter now. His men avoided her like she was made of mirrors. He asked her name. She lied. He asked where she learned Italian. She said in silence. He leaned forward, curious. "You talk like someone who's been hurt." Her eyes flickered toward the window, where a police cruiser rolled by. "Everyone's been hurt," she said. "Some of us just learned how to use it." The next time, he came alone. No guards, no pretense. "You think I'm a monster," he said, "but I'm just a man trying to survive." She refilled his glass, her fingers close to his, her voice barely a breath. "You survive by killing dreams that don't look like you." The ice cracked inside his drink, loud as guilt. He followed her after work. The streetlights stretched their shadows together. Two ghosts walking through Chicago's broken heart. She stopped under a flickering lamp and turned. "You think power is skin accent money," she said. "But power is knowing when to forgive and when not to." He didn't see the car waiting at the corner, didn't notice the men inside watching him like prey. Days later, she found him bleeding in his car outside the same lounge. "You shouldn't have followed me," she whispered, pressing her scarf against the wound. "You're not safe anymore." He caught her wrist weakly, eyes searching hers for something human. "Neither are you," he murmured. He survived, but barely. And when he woke in a hospital bed, the first thing he saw wasn't her face. It was a newspaper headline. FBI infiltrates Chicago Mafia. Evidence led by undercover linguists. Her picture stared back at him. The woman he mocked. The woman he followed. The woman who kissed him once when he thought he was dying. Weeks later, he returned to the lounge, now empty, seized, silent. On the table where she used to serve him sat a single cup of coffee, still warm. Beside it, a note. Asterisk, respect is the only currency that never loses value. Asterisk, he looked around, half expecting her to appear. But she didn't. Outside, rain fell like ash, washing the city clean or trying to. Somewhere in the distance, he heard her voice again in flawless Italian. Asterisk, you were never the lesson, Vince. You were the warning. Asterisk, he turned toward the sound. But there was nothing, only the wind, the memory of her eyes, and a city that never learned who really held the gun. The storm came before the truth. Thunder swallowed the city as Vince waited inside the abandoned church, hands shaking from more than the cold. He'd receive her message, one line that sounded like both confession and challenge. Asterisk, meet me where God forgets. Asterisk, the door creaked open, and Amara stepped in, soaked in rain and silence. Her eyes held no mercy now. You shouldn't have come, she said. You already lost. He laughed, hollow and dangerous. You set me up, he said, voice cracking under rage. You played me. She walked closer, every step measured like a countdown. I didn't play you, she said softly. I showed you what happens when power underestimates pain. Lightning flashed, painting her face in silver and shadow. He saw not the waitress, not the woman he desired, but the architect of his ruin. I gave you trust, he growled, taking a step forward. You gave me betrayal. She met his eyes, unflinching. You gave me chains first. The air thickened between them. The ghosts of every insult, every smirk, every casual cruelty. You think racism is a word, she whispered, but it's a weapon, and tonight I'm taking it away from you. Her voice didn't rise, but it cut deeper than any blade. He reached inside his coat, a gun, desperate and trembling. You think you can win this? He said, the barrel gleaming under the broken light. She didn't move. Instead, she pulled out a small recorder, pressing play. His own voice filled the room. Bribes, murders, racial slurs whispered like scripture. The walls themselves seemed to flinch. You recorded me? He shouted. She tilted her head. No, she said. Your men did. I just spoke their language. His hand lowered, disbelief washing through him. You speak Italian, he murmured. You spoke like love. She stepped closer, eyes unblinking. I speak the language of survival, she said, and you mistook it for affection. He tried to speak, but his throat locked. For the first time, he looked small, an empire trembling before truth. Sirens wailed outside. The blue lights painted the stained glass like judgment. They're not here for me, she said, turning toward the door. They're here for everyone who believed they'd never have to answer. He lunged, catching her wrist. Amara, he whispered, voice breaking. Tell me this isn't hate. She looked at him with something colder than anger. Clarity. It's not hate, she said. It's balance. The doors burst open, agents shouting, shadows colliding. She didn't look back. As they dragged him out, rain spilling through the roof, he called her name once more. She paused at the threshold, her silhouette framed by lightning. I never wanted your empire, she said, just your respect. And then she was gone. Hours later, as he sat cuffed in the back of a cruiser, he saw her through the storm, speaking quietly to an officer. Her badge caught the light. Asterisk, asterisk, Special Agent Amara Lewis, asterisk, asterisk. The truth hitting him like a final bullet. She turned briefly, their eyes meeting through the rain-streaked window. No triumph, no revenge, just a silent reckoning between two souls that had tried to rewrite the same story in different blood. When the car pulled away, he whispered something only she could hear in the distance. You win. She didn't move. She only closed her eyes, whispering something in Italian. The agent beside her asked what she said. Amara looked up at the gray sky, voice trembling like prayer. I said, may the strong finally learn how it feels to kneel. And somewhere in the thunder, the city exhaled, like justice at last had remembered its name. Rain fell like broken glass across the city, each drop reflecting a truth no one wanted to see. The streets were emptied of mercy, painted in red and blue, where power once dined on fear. Amara stood beneath the collapsing sign of the Silver Oak Lounge, the same place he had once laughed at her voice, her skin, her worth. Now it was a ruin of sirens and shattered pride. Her hands trembled, not from victory, but from the unbearable weight of justice that no longer felt clean. The wind carried the echo of his last words, A confession whispered like a prayer she never asked for. Inside, the smoke hadn't cleared. Vince sat against the bar, blood blooming through his shirt, like a final confession written by fate itself. He looked at her, not as a boss, not as a man who once believed he ruled the city, but as someone stripped of every illusion that power could buy redemption. Their eyes met through the blur of tears and rain. He smiled, not with arrogance, but with something close to surrender. In that moment, the air stilled, the kind of silence that divides saints from sinners. She knelt beside him, her badge gleaming under the trembling light. "You always said I'd never matter," she whispered without sound. He coughed, a fragile sound, like guilt trying to breathe. She could end it, call the medics, save his life, but her hand froze. He had lived by a code written in hate, carved into the bodies of the forgotten. Saving him would mean forgiving everything the world refused to see. The thunder rolled like judgment, and then quietly she slipped the gun beside him, fingerprints wiped clean. His eyes widened, not in fear but in recognition. She turned away before the last breath left him. Outside, dawn cracked over the skyline, golden light spilling across the ruins. The city looked holy again, reborn through ash and consequence. She watched as the police carried his body past the cameras, headlines already being written about the fall of a king. But no headline would ever say her name. Her justice would remain invisible, her truth buried beneath the same silence that once chained her. She lit a cigarette, its flame trembling in the wind, and whispered something in Italian, a phrase he once used to seduce her. But this time it meant freedom. When she walked away, the rain stopped. Only the echo of footsteps remained, hers steady, his fading. And somewhere between the light and the ruin, the world shifted, just enough to notice what it had broken. If her justice felt cruel, remember, it only mirrors a mercy denied to her kind. Like, share and subscribe, because silence is the sweetest weapon of power.